Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Pipe Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's episode of the Sports Source. It is Selection Sunday, always one of the most fun days of the year for the sports fans. We'll talk about the Volunteers and how they're stumbling into the tournament. What kind of seed are they going to get? Who might they play? All that kind of stuff. Is the tournament over before it begins? Or is that just kind of the mood around here at the moment? We'll discuss. We've also got spring practice just a week away, so we've got some football topics to tackle as well today. Tackle, see that was a joke. Let's go ahead and get started. This first segment of our program brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. It's time for spring cleaning, folks, and Junk Be Gone has two specials right now. $299 for a day dumpster rental, $299 to rent a dumpster for. It's actually a 3-day dumpster rental, $299. That's delivery, pickup, and disposal of up to 2 tons of debris. Now, got to be within 30 miles of Knoxville to get that deal, $299 for a 3-day dumpster rental. Or have a 2-man job done, get the Junk Be Gone team. They do all the work. They show up, load it up, carry it off, all of it. Plus, mention the Sports Source, you're going to get $25 off. Junk Be Gone. Love this group. I use them all every year, and I know I'll be using them here in the next month or so myself. junkbegone.biz. Check them out online. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists today. We have Josh Ward and Jimmy Himes here from 99.1 The Sports Animal. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thank you, John.
Right over here, Mark Pankratz is in the middle of coaching his girls basketball teams, rushed in to do this show. I appreciate that. Former Vol assistant, former D1 basketball player. Nobody knows basketball more than Mark. Thank you. And right down here, Chuck Cavaleris. Nobody knows loving Chuck more than Chuck. Chuck, longtime member of this panel, longtime media member. Chuck, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, John.
Okay. I'm going to run through some numbers. I'm going to set the table, and I'm going to let you guys go. And I'm going to start with you. But let's set the table. The preliminaries are over. March Madness is here, but it's more like March Maddening for Tennessee fans. Look at this. November through January 28th. Everything is so good. 18-3. Average score in games, 74-54. You're whooping teams left and right. You made it all the way to number 2 in the country. Then February hit. You're 5-7 since February. The average score is now a 3-point squeaker. And I'm actually surprised it's a win since you have the losing record there. If you go to the next graphic, let's show you this. The big problem, Zakai Zeigler's injury. The last 3 games, it's a small sample, but you can see the numbers here. Average margin of victory went from plus 15 with Zeigler to -1 without him. The opponent's field goal percentage has gone from 35% to 46% the last 3 games. Opponent three-point percentage has gone from 25 to 32%. UT assists have gone down from 17 to 15. Opponents' assists have gone up from 19 to 15, or from 9 to 15, I should say. UT's turnovers up from about 12 to 13, but opponents' turnovers down from 15 to 8. Tennessee steals per game down from almost 9 to 4. Huge hole, and we knew it would be, but it's really big on the defensive side of the ball. One more thing to look at, the problem with Zeigler being out, you wish somebody could step up. Well, you don't have anyone you can rely on. Josiah Jordan-James, the last 3 games, it's pretty much a summary of his entire career. 10 points, 20 points, 3 points. You don't know what you're going to get on a given night from him. And then the post players who we bragged on earlier this year, they're deeper in the post. They've got guys who can do various things. They don't score, and they haven't been grabbing rebounds. Look at these 4 post players combined. The last 3 games for 44 points. They just don't have a lot of things going in the right direction at this moment. You take Zeigler out of it, it's a bad situation. Now, I've made it sound awfully drab and bleak and horrible, Mark Pankratz. I'm going to leave it to you. Is it as bad as I say? And then we'll let everybody jump in here.
You make it sound pretty bad.
I'm just reading the numbers.
Yeah. It's not as good as it was, for sure.
It's looked pretty bad.
It's not as good as it was. I mean, we've had people step up in Meshack. We've had other guys that are Tyreek Keys playing a little bit better. But the inconsistency, especially from your top guys, that was the difference in Missouri, in the game versus Missouri. They had Kobe Brown. They had guys that were a mismatch. They could throw the ball to that was going to be a problem, and they could also make plays for other people. Tennessee doesn't have that consistent guy. Zakai was probably that guy that could make plays for other people, draw the defense, wanted the last shot. And Josiah's inconsistency and that interior being inconsistent gives you a lot of concern. But the thing that's interesting about those stats, it's the defense. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest. You've hung your hat all year on how good of a defense you are. Now you're playing better opponents, but to go from 35% defense to 46%, that's a big, big swing.
Yeah, and even what Missouri was 60% in the second half.
In the second half, they shot 52% in 2 games against Tennessee's. Now it's not the number 1 ranked defense anymore. They dropped the number 2 this week. But against Tennessee's defense, they shot 52% in both those games.
And 7 3-pointers in the second half. I mean, I just thought that. And how sloppy was Tennessee with the ball at the start of each tournament game? I mean, Rick Barnes was just irate after 4 minutes against Missouri. I mean, and that's just like, to me, that's unacceptable.
But I expected that. When you lose your point guard and you don't have another true point guard ready to go, I expected you'd have turnovers and issues there. I didn't expect the defense to go as far south without him as it has.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's like I said last week, guys. To me, it's like you're trying to replace 2 players with intangibles. It's what you miss on the offensive end, which is school history good, averaging 11 points and 5.5 assists. Only a 7th person in school history to do that. Plus, rated as one of the best defensive players in the country. That's tough to replace.
To me, what was strange about Missouri was Missouri started 1 of 11 on threes, and then they went 9 of 15 on threes. The defense is like they disappeared. After,
Well, they average, I think, 29 or they put up 26 a game, so they just keep firing them.
Yeah, they do, and they were 10 of 26. So was Tennessee. But when Missouri got hot, they started pulling away, and Tennessee didn't have any answers. If you had told me before the game that Key and Meshack would have 30 points against Missouri, I'm thinking, Tennessee's going to win this game. Yeah. But Josiah Jordan-James didn't show up. You want me to run through those numbers that I have?
Yeah.
He started playing 20 minutes a game against Kentucky. When he first came back, he wasn't playing 20 minutes. So against Kentucky, January the 14th, he started playing 20 minutes. When he has scored 10 points or less, Tennessee's 1 in 5. When he has scored more than 10 points, they're 7-0.
Pretty big switch.
It is a big switch, yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, and that's probably why I'll come back to the defensive side, because with Zakai we had offensive concerns, right? Tennessee was not a very good offensive team, among the best teams in the country with Zakai. Defensively, though, they were arguably the best, statistically the best. Take away Zakai, second half against Auburn, where they scored 49 points, and then what you just said about the second half, Missouri. Can they hold it for 40 minutes, being as good as they need to be on defense without Zakai, which could also negatively affect them as the game goes along on the offensive end because of how much work they're having to put in, how much they're asking of Vescovy? That's a big ask. So when we get to the NCAA tournament, game number 1, maybe they'll be fine. They'll play a lesser opponent. Game number 2, you have to turn around in 48 hours and play again. Let's see if they can hold up in the tournament.
Well, and how the offense is affecting the defense is you're seeing teams now pick up, which I don't know why Auburn didn't do this, although they won 2 weeks ago, picking up our point guards full court.
Yeah.
And they're going to wear down Vescovy. They're going to wear down Key because they can just bother them. And now they got to go defend at that other end. Mm-hmm. And so now I will give Barnes credit. You saw in that Ole Miss game they played a little bit of zone. They mixed things up a little bit. And so they're trying to find ways to steal some possessions because we've lost, I don't know, what 5-7. We're 5-7 in February. I don't know how many of those games are within 5-6 points.
A couple of them were buzzer beaters.
So a lot of them are coming down to possession-type games. And it'll be interesting. Yeah. Missouri ran a lot of good stuff out of timeouts that they scored on yesterday.
Success.
And so these possession-type games, this is where some of that coaching stuff is going to show its head.
Well, in Missouri, there were 15 lead changes, 11 ties. Comes down to the last 2 minutes, you get outscored 10-2. When it's a tie game, and like what Josh said, I noticed this in the box scores, Josh. At Auburn, Tennessee's ahead 33-30 at halftime. Auburn scores 46 points in the second half. Against Missouri, Tennessee's ahead 34-30. Missouri scores 46 points in the second half. That's just blows my mind because you were trying to hold teams to 50 or less for a while for the whole game. And you give up 46.5 back-to-back losses? That's tough.
I don't think Wendell Green would have scored 24 for Auburn against Tennessee if Zeigler been out there.
Yeah.
Which goes to the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, less turnovers, John. You had on the screen. Less turnovers. You're creating more turnovers if you have Zakai defending on the perimeter.
And I don't know if Hodge gets 24, whatever he got from Missouri.
Right, and I
if
would
Ziegler's on the court.
Well, and I would say Tennessee's forcing fewer turnovers, so that's going to kill their fast break. But they've never had any fast break points.
Yeah, that was 14-6 this time, and 4 of those Missouri on the fast break advantage were runouts.
Mark, after the game, Rick was quick as we end this segment. Rick Barnes was trying to be positive. He was saying, we've done some good things. There's a lot of teams don't want to face up with us in the tournament. It felt to me like he was trying to convince his own team of that.
Yeah.
Do you think Rick Barnes he knows what's going on? He sees this. He's the one going to the zone. He's trying to make do without Zeigler. Where is a head coach's mind right now?
Well, I think yes, you're trying to get your guys focused in and buying in and trying to realign pieces without your main piece in Zakai, offensively and defensively, being out. But to me, that is true. I'd rather play a team that has run some really good stuff offensively than is just a dog to play defensively, that is going to get up and be as physical and as tough as Tennessee is. There are a lot of coaches that do not want to play Tennessee. And so I think that there is truth to that. But he's also continued to maintain confidence when you go 5-7, and they're hearing the pressure that is being put out by the outside world.
Yeah, and I just wonder about playing that defense. You don't want to play a team that's as tough as Tennessee was on defense.
Yes, exactly.
As we just showed, without Zeigler, I don't know that coaches. I'm sure they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to scare their team and say, this is the second best team. If you just look at the last 3 games, I'm guessing Tennessee doesn't rank number 2 in the country in defense without Zeigler. So, all right, when we come back, we're going to save up time so we can get more in here with Mark. When we come back, offense now beats defense in football. Is that the case in basketball too? Wouldn't that be a catch for Tennessee? They've built their whole season on defense, and offense seems to be moving to the forefront. Have I got some fuzzy math for these guys, or am I looking at it the right way? We'll let Professor Pankratz tell me if I'm right or wrong next. Come on back on the Sports Source.